In today's Game Week 9 early thoughts video, we're going to take a look at some key topics and some things we need to consider for the up and coming Friday deadline. So let's jump in to another Fantasy Premier League video. Kicking the video off with the early thoughts section. Of course, first on my list is the Saliba red card. Of course, a massive impact on that game. A lot of people who had Arsenal double defence very disappointed, including myself. And of course, a lot of us expected SAKA to be playing in this fixture as well, but we will get into SAKA a little bit later. I just want to cover sort of the whole Arsenal defence right now and talk about their fixtures coming up, because it could be the chance that as double Arsenal defence owners or Arsenal defence owners in general, it could be time to jump off and maybe go into someone cheaper anyway. Of course, they have been conceding goals in sort of the easier fixtures. I'll sort of bring that up there for you there. The last sort of 3 fixtures, we all expected some, at least 2 clean sheets, but we've had 0, and that's for different reasons, and especially in this Bournemouth game, it was because of this red card. So for me, it could be time to jump away from the double Arsenal defence. In my personal situation for my team, it's not an option because there's other aspects of my team that I would really like to prioritise. And I'm sort of okay holding Arsenal really long term, especially double Arsenal defence. I mean, you look at the fixtures from 12 onwards, a real nice selection of fixtures, and I really don't mind holding sort of the Arsenal defence really long term. We'll bring up sort of Manchester City as a whole, especially talking about Foden and Lewis here though. I really expected Foden to start, and for me, could have been the option to go for this week, especially with the fixture considered of Southampton at home. But we've seen him benched again. However, Rico Lewis starts again, which is always good news for myself and other Rico Lewis owners. Just to bring up sort of the graphic here, of course, the last 2 fixtures, well, we could say the last 3 fixtures, all good minutes since that Arsenal benching situation. But sort of the good fixtures are coming to a close around game week 12. But Rico Lewis playing so many minutes, holding these amazing positions. The only issue is City are just conceding at the moment. And obviously it seems that Guardiola's the standout issue as a City defence because he's scoring these goals. I believe it's 2 in the last 2 weeks. But yeah, City conceding silly goals is affecting Rico Lewis as an option. I'm hoping that they can kind of solidify things, but without Rodri, something just seems to be missing, and I'm not sure what it is. Perhaps it's that Rodri did absolutely everything in that City team, and other players are having to fill that role. But sort of the interesting thing I want to bring up here is Foden being benched is, for me, didn't make sense. A lot of Pep roulette situations don't make sense to the ordinary person or the football fan. But for me, Foden bench, is there an issue there that we're not seeing? Is it sort of a personnel thing that he doesn't think Foden can fill that role that De Bruyne sort of will be taken back when he's back? And another thing to consider when possibly buying Foden this week, that De Bruyne could be back soon-ish. We don't exactly know a timeline just yet though. So yeah, it's a strange situation with Foden. However, Lewis starting is obviously positive news for myself and other owners. I want to bring up sort of cheap forwards now, because I believe they're the meta in FPL going forwards, and I'm going to sort of explain myself and the strategy, but what I mean behind this. I'm going to go with probably my favourite cheap forward of the week. Raul Jimenez, of course, scored at the weekend. Another interesting sort of thing we need to consider with Raul Jimenez as well is, Fulham's penalty taker missed their penalty. Is Jimenez the next penalty taker? Very possibly could be the fact. And of course, it's always nice to have an extra added sort of penalty taker title to your forward in FPL. Of course, my Watkins probably doesn't take penalties, but is such a good player, I will be keeping him. But yeah, I think cheap forwards are the meta going forward. Raul Jimenez, just someone I wanted to show off there. Of course, good fixtures across the next 3. For me, in terms of strategy going forward, we're looking at sort of game week 12 as the next big thing. The next big swing of sort of changing teams, and things like that. So for me, cheap forwards allows you to go into your midfield and possibly have two premiums in that midfield, as well as maybe a more expensive defender. So for me, cheap forwards, at least having one or maybe even two going forward is probably the way to go. Wissa popping up in my head is someone who we could look to be buying either this week or next week, depending if we get information that he starts this week. Stradlarsson and Cunha, both great options. The fixtures long term are really, really great. So another sort of a pick that lets you build up those free transfers, because you're probably not going to have to move off them anytime soon. Who else am I missing in terms of a cheap forward? Chris Wood, of course, scored again. Of course, his ownership is a bit higher than these other guys, but if he's the proof's in the pudding and the goals are there for Chris Wood, I believe that's number 5 for him now. It still could be a good option. The fixtures aren't terrible for Chris Wood either. We'll sort of go from the extreme of the cheap forwards in the game to the most expensive one. Erling Haaland, the Norwegian robot, is actually a tin man. He is blanked in the past 3 weeks in FPL, but obviously with Southampton being his next fixture at home, is it really time to be selling him? Of course, 46,000 managers have sold him so far, which maybe I don't agree with, but if it's the case that this Southampton home fixture, he blanks yet again, it very well could be time to move on Erling Haaland. So, yeah, a bit of an interesting sort of topic, but yeah, I'm going to be keeping Erling Haaland. The fixtures aren't terrible. Like I say, if he does bad in the Southampton home fixture, big things to consider going forward. We'll kind of speak about Garnacho here. I'll pull up just Onana as sort of a fixture, a gateway to show you the fixtures. The fixtures for Manchester United aren't too bad coming up. In fact, I would argue are pretty decent. You've got the West Ham fixture. We've seen what happened in West Ham's last game, sort of a total destruction when Spurs got a little bit of momentum. Chelsea at home, obviously, not fantastic. We know what happened again with Chelsea and Man United last season when they gave us that great sort of Palmer ending goal. Leicester, Ipswich, Everton after that. So I would say for the next sort of 5 weeks, you're looking at 4 really great fixtures for Manchester United. So yes, it could be time to look at Garnacho. Of course, played 90 in that, I believe, the past 4 fixtures. It could be time to look at him. Of course, he scored at the weekend, I do believe. So yeah, sub 1 to consider. Low ownership, cheap, considerably cheap anyway for midfielders. Personally, I'm not looking right now. I'm probably okay missing out on Gameweek 9 and 10 for Garnacho. I'm sort of looking at longer term picks for myself, so I don't have to transfer people in and out here and there. I want to spend more time building up free transfers than anything else. And sort of to end off the early thoughts, I want to bring up Saka by himself away from the other Arsenal conversation at the start of the video. Is it time to hold him? Is it time to sell him? You're going to be annoyed at my answer, but I think we just have to wait. Yes, he could go down in price tonight, and that might force me into a move to actually move him on early. But I will discuss that when I have a quick look at my team in sort of the next section of the video. But it's a very complex situation with my personal team, which I will explain. But if you can afford to hold Saka, obviously coming up to this game week 12 area here, it could be really beneficial because you don't have to necessarily waste your transfers going from premium to premium every week, and you're kind of not building up transfers. You're kind of just using your free transfer every week. It could be an option that you keep him, but if he is injured and he does miss this Champions League fixture coming up, if we find out that why he's missed the Champions League fixture is because he's injured, it could be time to move him on. I think other premiums around, sort of like Son, Palmer, could be great moves. Obviously, downgrading them gives you a lot more money to play with and sort of allows you to upgrade other positions, but I feel as though midfield premiums are probably the way to go at the moment, and cheap forwards are the way to go right now. So yeah, those are my early thoughts for Game Week 9. I'm going to move over to the next section now, where I'm going to look at my personal team and sort of the updated sort of transfer plans going in to the Friday deadline. Here is how I could line up for Game Week 9, considering all the information we spoke about in the previous section of the video, my early thoughts for Game Week 9. SAKA straight away is a problem for me. I have him as a 10 million pound asset. Of course, he went up to 10.1. He's now coming down tonight to a 10 million pound asset yet again. So I can survive this price drop. If maybe you have him at 10.1 million, he's going down and it sort of prices you out of a move. Potentially it's something to look out for your squad, but for me, I can survive tonight. And the sort of issue with this though is if I go to Palmer is predicted to go up tomorrow in price, and I think he could go up in price again before the end of the deadline. So there could be a situation where I'm priced out of Palmer before the FPL deadline. So an early move could be made there. Hopefully it's okay. I do think we'll manage in terms of that move to sort of leave it as late as possible for as much information as possible. But it could be the case that I make a -4 move this week and get rid of someone like Watkins and move into someone cheaper like Cunha, who is amazing in terms of fixtures really long term. That could be a move I definitely make. But I do like the way Watkins is playing at the moment. He's sort of ticking away nicely with attack and return, similar to Morgan Rogers there. What I do think is something I will do this week, though, is play Robinson and drop Gabriel. I sort of think that Liverpool fixture at home, yes, defensively they're going to have to put in a real shift because, look, Saliba missing is sort of a massive part of their defence. So I'm expecting Liverpool to obviously score. Salah doing well at the moment, and sort of Liverpool as a whole. It looks like a really good squad in my opinion. So yeah, I think I'm going to bench Gabriel this game week, play Robinson, and get Cole Palmer and remove Bukayo Saka. They're sort of my early thoughts going into the week. Then I have sort of 3 options there for captaincy: Haaland, Mbeumo, and Palmer. Those are the real options for me. It's probably pretty obvious that I'm going to go for Haaland. Could be tempted by Palmer just to go against Haaland and the potential triple captainers of Haaland this game week. But, you know, blanking 3 game weeks in a row isn't fantastic. Of course, no shots in his last fixture he played at the weekend. Southampton just are a really bad defence, though, so I'm expecting, you know, a good few attack and returns from Haaland this game week. However, after that game week is done, I think there will be real conversations on whether we sell Haaland or not. And why I say that is because, you know, coming up to game week 12 and possibly, you know, Salah might be a slightly better option than Haaland in terms of maybe fixtures going forward. We'll kind of sort of have a look at that for you here. So game week 12, obviously the Southampton fixture, a bad fixture with City, but then going into some other decent fixtures of Newcastle and Everton. So there could be a sort of structural change after Southampton at home for Haaland. For me, we just have to assess what happens. If he blanks again, I think a lot of us are going to be transferring him out. But yeah, I think he will do well this game week. But overall, that's how I could line up for game week 9 in FPL. Let me know your early thoughts and potential transfers you can make this game week. And what would you change about my squad? Who would you transfer out? And would you take that -4? As always, to outro every video, I like to give you guys at home a big thank you for supporting the FPL Mogs YouTube channel. Of course, if you have enjoyed today's video, do like and subscribe to the channels for future weekly FPL content and deadline streams. So that is everything for today's video. Thank you again so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.